Watch
help
the
us
weather,
out.
yeah.
I don't know, Matt,
He
do you know
seems
what
like
the
a guy that's
forecast
got the
is?
Weather Channel on in the background at all times.
I actually am not one of those people at all, but I really only care, is the weather okay to play golf during the summer, and then on game day, pay attention, I guess maybe a day out or something like that when we're going to pack. But I'm of the understanding it's going to be around 80. And the reason I know that is I think it was in the travel itinerary that they sent out at the beginning of the week. But being in Coach Brown's office this morning, I know they're especially adamant this week about hydrating and all those things that you do when you go and on the road and play outdoors in the heat.
Looks like a high of 83 and scattered thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. So, hopefully there won't be a long lightning delay.
Right.
Hopefully you can avoid the thunderstorms. All right, so let's talk about this trip. You've been to a lot of different venues, obviously doing this job for both football and basketball. For you, where does Death Valley kind of fall in terms of the great college sports venues in the country that you've been to?
It's pretty awesome. It's way up there near the top for game day atmosphere. They just do a really good job. It's primarily rooted in the entrance. The Clemson team literally hops on buses to go from one end of the stadium around to the other to get to where they run down the hill past Howard's Rock. So there's a drama associated with all of that as people kind of watch them queue up and then they come running in. So that's really cool, the balloons and the whole deal. And it's easy when you sell out. They sell out every week and they win virtually every week. So it doesn't ever go for naught. It's not like it's unthinkable that they lose at home, but their efforts are rewarded typically by the team, and people have a great time. And then, Clemson is known for what they call meeting at the paw. If you didn't know any better, you would think they're storming the field post game against everybody. And my understanding, that's been tempered a little bit now that these conferences are cracking down on people on the field after the game and finding schools. So they're doing that a little bit of a different way, but you'll still see their fans on the field after the game, win, lose, or draw.
I think some of us looked at this game, Matt, before the season started and said, man, of all the games on the schedule, that might be the most difficult one. And now as it approaches, we look at it and maybe it's not the most difficult one anymore. What do you make of what you've seen from this Clemson team? They're obviously still good, but they don't seem unbeatable. Where do you kind of stand with what you've seen from the Tigers through 3 games?
Yeah, I just think they're a little stagnant maybe. They're still really good. They've got talent. They're used to winning. They're in a home environment. Now they know they have very little margin for error. I can't imagine they lay an egg or kind of go through the motions here. I mean, the 2 games they've lost, I understand the score against Troy and all that didn't look very good, but their 2 losses are against pretty solid teams that are going to both have some say-so about their conference championships. So I wouldn't be too quick to write off Clemson at this stage or be down to the dumps from a Clemson perspective. It's uncommon for them. They've been 1-3 in 20 years. So uncommon for them to be kind of looking at something like this. So you got to go down there expecting their very best.
What are you hearing about Antonio Williams? Are you expecting him to play at, I don't know, based on the intel that you've gotten preparing for this game and whatnot, he's been a missing piece to the puzzle for that Tigers offense. Do you think he's going to be out there Saturday?
I wouldn't say that I've done a deep dig going to try to track him down. I would just say my sense is that, yes, he's going to play, just based on the tone that you do hear from people down there during the week. Dabo at the start of the week, and then a couple of the radio folks and people that are embedded, kind of around. So, again, same thing. You got to prepare as if he does. I would think any team, and Syracuse is blessed to have a pretty deep group of wide receivers. Any team that loses their top guy is going to be set back in the mud a little bit. And I think the knock on what they've done offensively to this point is that they've keyed into such a great degree on one player, Brian Westgrow, and he's been awesome, but there hasn't been plan B, C, and D. And that's really one of the strengths of Syracuse, that they have been spreading the ball around and taking what the defense gives.
Yeah, as for that Syracuse offense that you brought him up, let's talk about, Steve Angeli leading the country in passing yards. It's something that's come up on our show throughout the week that, did Jeff Nixon deserve a little more credit for what we saw last year? And obviously Kyle McCord was awesome, but, are we collectively, kind of underselling what Jeff Nixon has meant to this offense through a year and a half?
Yes. I think we've been trying to say that here for a number of weeks. Leading up to this point, I think the biggest advertisement for the program, or one of them right now, is the Kyle McCord, John Gruden session in the offseason getting ready for the draft, where he kind of shows some of the things they're doing offensively and the adjustments and checks. And so they play a type of offense that you want to say you can't be wrong, because the defense can only be in one place at a time. You're reading what the defense does and you're going elsewhere. So yes, the defense can dictate a little bit, and there's the chess game or the cat and mouse related to that. But no, I think Jeff Nixon is really good at what he does. I think what we've seen is a big product of that. And the players all deserve a ton of credit too. They've developed, they've played the role that they've been put into. You need to have people that are going to catch the football and block for protection and run the ball when asked to do that. So right now it's a very heavily pass-oriented attack. I don't know that it's always going to be that way if they can get Willis healthy and Nixon on track and go from there. But to answer your question, yes, I think Jeff Nixon, and I heard Coach Brown this morning earlier on your show rattle off the whole staff. The offensive staff right now, it knows what it's doing and is very capable.
In terms of the specific matchups in this particular game against Clemson, is the biggest matchup in your mind, Matt, up front when Syracuse has the ball, how the O-line prepares and how the O-line performs against that Clemson defensive line? Is that the biggest matchup in this game?
Yes, I think, because I'm pretty certain that Syracuse feels pretty good if they're neutral or better in that matchup, right? Everybody who faces Clemson is going to have to deal with that defensive line or front seven. It's one of the best defensive lines in the country. So they can wreck the game. If they don't, then I think Syracuse likes their chances at one-on-one, putting your best against their best, your receivers, or your strength, let's say, your strength being receivers against and I wouldn't say anybody on Clemson is weak, but maybe the defensive backs are not as seasoned or as accomplished as the front four. So that's what I think you're trying to do. But there's no offense that I'm aware of that doesn't require the offensive line to be adequate to protect, and so they're going to have to do their part there and win one-on-one matchups and protect the quarterback and let him do his thing.
Are you surprised by the point spread? 17.5. Do you think it's a little disrespectful to Syracuse, or do you not really pay much attention to that?
Well, I think both of those can be true. No, I'm not surprised. I was asked the same thing on a Clemson radio the other day, because they think they stink, right? It's you guys have been through this on the show all the time. It's the psychology of the if you're going to face a team that's coming off a loss, you think, oh my gosh, they're backed against the wall. They're going to come out like crazed dogs, and we're in real trouble. If you lose a game, you think, oh, we're never going to win again. And that's kind of what's going on with them right now. So a talk show host down there yesterday, the day before, asked me the exact same thing. Are you surprised? No, I'm not surprised. It's Clemson and Syracuse. Clemson historically has had the upper hand, and there's been some big numbers. Clemson still, going into the year, had the momentum of being a national title contender, certainly a conference champion contender. If you look at Syracuse, and I'm not saying this is right, I'm just saying it's my observation, overlooked, right? You try some night on ACC Network and see how long it takes you before you get to the Syracuse highlights. Yeah. the game the other day I saw, they were making the case that NC State, because they're 3-0, they're going to rise right up there to contention. I've never seen a team that won 10 games last year discounted to such a degree to where it's not even mentioned. It's not even in the right. You can't, if you're listing 6 or 8 teams, you can't list a team that's coming off 10 wins and is 2-1 with its only loss to a really good team and is still got the whole conference slate ahead. I mean, maybe it's just a foregone conclusion with the difficult schedule that that's the reason that people are writing off. But I think they could bear a mention, right? So because they're going to go head to head with Georgia Tech and Miami and some others down the road. The opportunity is ahead there for Syracuse. But that's a lot of breath to say. I don't pay too much attention to point spreads, other than I know they're building all those buildings out there in the desert because they know what they're doing, and the point spreads over time tend to work out pretty accurately. And no, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. All right. I know you got to run, Matt, but just I guess real quick, what do you think this game ultimately comes down to, and what kind of chance do you give Syracuse to win this game?
Turnovers. I think turnovers and kicking game, really the things that are going to determine field position. Can you take advantage? Even short field, can you take advantage? Can you get 7, not 3? That, to me, is the biggest part. If you are an underdog, and if you want to believe a 17-point underdog, you've got to maximize everything you do have. We've seen Syracuse go down there and lose close before. They've been in the neighborhood and just haven't seen it through. They've had one play or one penalty or something like that has scrapped a legitimate upset bid most of the time against Clemson. So if they are to win the game, I think it'll be because they were opportunistic. They won the turnover battle to begin with, and just did a better job of that complementary football that coaches talk about, and took advantage of what was in front of them.
All right, Matt. You'll be over at Myers Creek tonight, 7 to 8 o'clock for the Fran Brown Show, and then off to Clemson from there. Have a great call, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, voice of the Orange, Matt Park, joining us here on the show. And with that, we will hit our final timeout. Still time for a phone call if you want to check in at 315-437-7644. Didn't have anything for Matt?
No, I was booking my travel.
You haven't booked your travel yet?
No, last minute.
Apparently.